Hey folks, Lemonade here, and today you guys get a treat. 2 mouse pads in one video. And while both of these are solid, only one of them is truly epic. But we're going to get into both of these right after this. Small disclaimer, while I did purchase the Endgame Gear EMC with my own money, Kurosun did send me the Ninja Pad for free, but of course that never changes my opinion on any review, and you are seeing this as early as they are. Alright, we're going to knock out the specs real quick and I'll throw those right up here for you folks. Before I start, as you can see, Kurosun is labeled as using an alpha cell base for their Ninja mousepad, and some of you know I'm not a fan of that particular solution, but just stick around a little bit and we're going to chat about that. So I'm going to dive into the packaging and stitching quickly because, well, they're both grade A. Now, in terms of the packaging, they are both flat packed and sturdy, but Kurosun does have a leg up due to its more custom approach. Not only is the outside matching their branding, they have an inner box with the Ninja artwork and an envelope attached which contains a thank you card, sticker, and care instructions. Now, sometimes packaging gets glazed over by reviewers, and I do that sometimes as well, but we all have to understand that there is a cost to doing all that extra stuff, but in Kurosun's case, that really wasn't reflected in the pricing if we compare it with the Endgame Gear pad or pack even with Artisan or Lethals, so good job Kurosun. Now the stitching is paper thin on both of these, so it really shouldn't be a bother either way, but Kurosun's is a touch more noticeable in that the edge over here, you can kind of feel it a bit more when you run your skates over it or the edge of your finger. On Endgame Gear's pad, it's just a bit softer in terms of the actual stitching itself, and it's a touch lower so your skates do glide over just a little bit more smoothly. Beyond those two similarities, these pads are for completely different audiences. As you saw in the spec breakdown, the Kurosun is a speed focus pad while the EMC is for people looking for a little bit more control. Now starting with the EMC here, this is Endgame Gear's first pad using an Xsoft Poron base, and it has all those nice properties that you'd expect if you've used this material before. It's soft and comfortable when you rest your hand on it, and has a nice level of suction on your desk so that the pad doesn't slide around in use. It's only 3mm thin, so it does have this kind of quick bottom out sensation if you press into it, but the Poron itself rebounds pretty quickly. Humidity resistance is also pretty good overall. I mean, it's summer in Florida, so hasn't really been an issue for me. And if you use a sleeve, there really is a minimal tug on this pad. It's a little bit more noticeable than some others, but I think you can get away with it. And design-wise, it just comes in black. And while, yeah, it's safe, it's just a bit boring, honestly. Having an option of color or some design should be a bit more norm these days with companies. And even from a marketing perspective, it really does help get people's attention and a bit more interested beyond just black. Now, in terms of the surface itself, before I got the pad, I was thinking this would be kind of another Zero or Saturn style pad, you know, in that balanced control category. And yeah, it's pretty much that. The Zero is faster than both though. The surface texture itself lands between the Infinite Control pad and the Lethal Gaming Gear Saturn. Now the texture isn't as soft and supple as the Infinite Control, but it's also slightly less grainy than the Saturn. Overall and general feel on hand and on your fingers as you run across it, it's very Saturn-like. Now performance-wise, I spent a lot of time going back and forth, trying to figure out where this thing slots and compares closest to. Now Endgame Gear's team stated that they wanted to create a GSRSC style pad with less initial friction for those smaller micro movements and a more consistent level of dynamic friction that was predictable when you transitioned from a small movement to a fast wide flick. And yeah, they did achieve that. It's definitely a pad that has a fairly consistent level of friction across the board. It's not too fast, not too slow. A pad that is honestly fairly versatile for TAC FPS or tracking heavy games, depending on the mouse and grip style that you use. And again, that's why I labeled the EMC in that balance control category. But enthusiasts hearing this description will probably think, Lemonade, this sounds exactly like a Saturn. And honestly, yeah, that's the problem I have with this pad. like, look, it's a great pad with stellar quality that is versatile for most games. It's just not that interesting to me. It's very much like a Saturn that's maybe 5 to 10% different, somewhere in that range. Now for min-maxers who are really trying to kind of dial in their gear setup, that extra touch of control on the EMC may be exactly what you need, but for others, spending another $54 for that small bit of difference may not be worth it, and I understand that. My opinion though, if you're really seeking more control than a Saturn, then a more appropriate option would be the Infinity Mice control pad, and it's only $40 for the same size and quality. On the flip side, this could be a great option for folks in other parts of the world, you know, depending on price conversions and availability of the Saturn or Infinite Control. At the end of the day though, the Endgame Gear EMC is a solidly good pad, and it's fairly priced when you compare it to its peers, and it does exactly what Endgame Gear wanted to create. So yeah, that's the good pad. Now let's talk about the Epic pad. TLDR, if you were bored of the same old and wanted something fresh in your collection and enjoy speedier pads, buy this now. Kurosun is a new company that's run by some core community members within our hobby, and this is their first ever release. So yeah, the pressure is definitely on them, but I think they just nailed it. They took a lot of extra time to get it to market, but I think it was worth it. Like I said earlier in the video, Kurosun opted to use Alpha Cell, and when I first heard this, I was like, because I just honestly have not had good luck with having tested the Pulsar ES1 and PureCheck's P51. Alpha Cell feels premium, but it has an odd experience in game, at least with those two pads. I found the material to be more humidity prone, and the rebound time felt slow and sluggish compared to Poron. Like it wouldn't bounce back as quickly when you pressed into it. Think like a dense memory foam. And lastly, yes, while Alpha Cell sticks to a desk way better than even Poron does, it's almost annoying if you're an enthusiast. You kind of have to peel it off like a bandage, so quickly swapping between a few pads takes that extra annoying few seconds of time. Anyway, Kurosun behind the scenes knew all of these issues because they have been working closely in developing this new material with their manufacturer. This base solution was really the main cause for delay in their launch. They could have launched with Pulsar's version or PureCheck's version, but didn't feel like this was in the right spot. And they fixed everything here. The base is still sticky on a desk so it doesn't move while you're gaming, but it's much more seamless just to remove it or lift it off or shift it around your desk when needed. The humidity factor is much less apparent now, even in the summer months of Florida, and the rebound time is much more akin to kind of a near mid Poron foam. It's denser and just more consistent all around. I think the inverse dot pattern here has played a big role in the humidity being tamed by allowing air to kind of travel a touch more freely and allowing it to peel off your desk easier. And if you use a sleeve like me, well, this has really just zero issue, and there's, very, very minimal tug, if at all. And before I touch on the surface, let's just take a closer look at the pad for a second. Now, I'm very happy that they didn't go with another plain black pad approach, and on the flip side, they kept it toned down enough that it shouldn't clash with any setups. With this nice contrast white stitching, the black and white ninja character here, and their logo in the bottom right, it has this kind of cool minimalism that really portrays their aesthetic extremely well. I hear you guys, you want to know what the surface is like, so I'll shut up and get right to it. This is definitely in the balance speed category in that it's fast but has a nice level of control, and honestly it's very unique. I guess the best way to describe it is if they took a Raiden and an Atsu and merged them together and had a baby, I guess, but the surface itself feels much smoother than that. It's almost as if they took the Raiden surface and heated it all over, stretched it really tight to create this very smooth feeling weave. It even sounds different. Take a listen. Kurosun did let me know that there is about a week break-in period. They have sample units going on over 8 months with no change in the surface beyond that initial break-in. And yeah, I did feel that it became a bit more toned down from when you first unbox it in terms of its speed. Now the Ninja in-game, funny enough, is actually kind of like an EMC, but only in that it applies an even level of friction going from your smaller micro movements to those full fast swipes. It's just more predictable than the Raiden. The Raiden, on the other hand, has a slightly lower initial friction than this, and it has a faster dynamic friction when you pick up speed. The Ninja, you can still feel that friction moving with you. That's not to say it's like glue or anything. It's very subtle, but it's just enough to set it apart. Now, in terms of pricing at $49, it's not $49.99, by the way. They really tried hard to keep it under $15 for everyone. I think it's a totally fair ask. The surface is a unique one to add to any collection. The design is subtle here, but it has some nice character to it, so it stands out. And the Alpha Cell is the best version that they've ever produced on any pad from any manufacturer. And on top of all that, they really take care in their packaging and their product design. From speaking with them in private, there's a lot coming from Kurosun. You definitely need to keep an eye out on this brand. Bravo on your first pad, guys. And on that note, folks, all my socials are down below, along with the affiliate links for the brands that I trust and use on a daily basis. You can use code LEMONADE to save a few bucks on your gaming peripheral purchases, or code UpgradeLemonade to sign up with our partner Surfshark to get an extra 3 months free and up your security in the 4 different ways that they protect you. If you had a good time with me today, of course, likes and subs are always appreciated. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this pad or the EMC pad. But until the next Fresh Squeeze video, you know what it is. Stay thirsty, folks.